chairing the Vice President post of Hemophilia Federation of India in the Vadodara chamber. So I invite Madam to have enlighten on the approach to leukocytosis, which is a very common topic and we are seeing in day-to-day practice. So thank you, Madam. Please.
Thank you very much for kind introduction. And once again, I am thankful to Dr. Anand Minamar and organizer for inviting me for such a wonderful conference and such a apt topic, because we see leukocytosis very often in our OPD setting, in indoor setting, and it's really challenging sometimes to reach to diagnosis. So I am going to make it case-based and only 20 minutes, so because I am there between you and lunch, so I will be finishing it very fast. So WBC, as you all know, it is a defense mechanism of our body, and apart from it prevents from the bacterial infection, fungal infection. There are lymphocytes which every time, all the time doing the cancer surveillance also. So today we are going to talk about all these cells. When we say WBC, means we are talking about neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, lymphocytes and monocytes. And each cell has a different function. And when we see leukocytosis, you have to look at the hemogram to see which cell is increased, and accordingly you can go ahead with the further evaluation to reach to the proper diagnosis. These are the abnormal cells, and I think pathologists can pick up these cells very well, and they should communicate back with clinician so that clinician can take a prompt apt decision. So as far as leukocytosis is concerned, whenever we see a patient with high count, the differential are two. One is either it is because of reaction to something going on in body. Like most common cause of leukocytosis is infection. So whenever there is an infection and neutrophilia, it is a good thing. Your body is trying to defend. Your body is trying to fight. So no need to bring down that count. You give antibiotic or appropriate antifungal, it will come its own. So like that, inflammation, autoimmune condition can also increase WBC count. So if there is a leukocytosis, you have to think all these things also in your workup whenever you are planning for workup. And the other things which we are worried about is malignancy, so acute leukemia or chronic leukemia. So these are the only conditions when you will like to refer these patients to hemato-oncologists. So most of the time, your job will be to differentiate whether it is a job of just clinician to take care of the patient or you need to refer to hematologist. And there are certain points based on which you can pick up one early malignancy. And why I am telling you have to pick up the early malignancy is because in acute leukemia the cure rate is almost touching 100% if you pick them early. So as I said yesterday also, the approach is same. The most important is history. Based on that you can find out whether patient is having like if it is a diagnosis of leukemia, if it is a chronic history, it's going to be chronic leukemia. Just 10 days history, acute leukemia. So based on history also your plan of action can be decided. And naturally based on history and examination will fulfill whether the history points are there or not. Like patient says there is a jaundice, there is a abdominal discomfort, you will like to examine whether there is a liver palpable, spleen palpable or not, you just whether lymph node is there or not. All these findings which you get hint or clue from history should be confirmed with the examination, and based on that the baseline investigation should be ordered. And this is the baseline investigation which I do whenever I get referral for the leukocytosis. The most important investigation, if any patient who is not affording and they want the diagnosis, at least give some clue. I just do CBC platelet peripheral smear because that is going to give diagnosis in 90% of patients. The 10% is for confirmation or doing further tests to confirm the whatever findings we are getting on PS. So most important is CBC and peripheral smear. Even if your patient is not affording, you can get it done at a really cheap cost. The other tests are just to first differentiate between whether it is a reactive or leukemia. So to differentiate between reactive and leukemia, do certain tests like a CRP, procalcitonin, ferritin is going to tell you whether it is reactive or not. Along with that, if patient is having history relevant, then you can go for a ANA, RA, anti-CCP. And if patient is having fever with leukocytosis, then definitely at least minimum further investigation will be X-ray chest and USG abdomen. So in next 15 minutes, I am going to present cases of case having neutrophilia, case having lymphocytosis, monocytosis, eosinophilia, leukocytosis with shift to left, and the definite blast on the smear. So why I am going for a case-based discussion? Because it will be really practical for all of you, and you can correlate with what kind of patient you have seen and whether that was the appropriate investigation or diagnosis at that time. So the first case is 52-year-old female who presented with fever, cough, expectoration for 10 days, and she was on antibiotic for 10 days. On examination, there was she was hemodynamically stable except for light lower zone Krebs. Nothing else was abnormal. And if you see carefully the hemogram finding, the TLC is 45,000, and out of that, the most of the cells are polymorphs. They are neutrophils. And another finding which I would like to bring you to notice is eosinophil. The eosinophil should be at least 2 to 6%, but here the eosinophil count is 0%. And peripheral smear is showing toxic granules in the neutrophil. So overall picture, including history, examination and PS finding, tells me that there is an infection, and that infection must be in the lung, which is causing high WBC count. But the point of worry is, count is high with neutrophil is good, that at least body is trying to fight against that infection, but low eosinophil count or eosinopenia is one of the sign of worse prognosis. Whatever antibiotic is going on, patient is not responding to that antibiotic. Try to trace the culture report and find out whether that antibiotic which is going on for patient is actually working for him or not, whether patient is sensitive to that antibiotic or not. Change the antibiotic, you will find change in the PS finding. You will start finding eosinophil in the peripheral smear, and that is a surrogate marker or surrogate indicator that patient is responding. So this patient had a very high procal, blood culture showed pseudomonas, and X-ray was showing a definite consolidation. So he was treated with appropriate antibiotic and responded well to that. So this is the picture of what I say about neutrophils with toxic granules. They look like this. And shift to left means you get a more premature neutrophil. Neutrophil, metamyelocyte, myelocyte, band cell, that is what you see, means body is trying to push more and more neutrophils to fight against the infection. So this is how you see a case of reactive neutrophilia, and in that you have to, whatever is the underlying cause. It may be a burn, it may be just autoimmune disease, or it may be inflammation. You have to take care of that thing and your WBC will come down. Then second patient, this is 59-year-old patient. He is also having 45,000 WBC count, but what is the difference between first patient and second patient? In first patient there was a fever, and this patient is not having fever. He is just having abdominal discomfort, and that discomfort is because there is a splenomegaly, which is 4 fingers below the costal margin. And here in hemogram, what you are saying, in first case, out of 45,000 WBC, 90% were, 80% were neutrophils, and here you are saying the shift to left, that means 75% are neutrophil, with band cell, with metamyelocyte, and with up to the blast. There are 2% blast also. But with that, what is very striking finding in this hemogram is basophil. Basophil 4% is something which gives you a diagnosis. Any hemogram, even if that patient is not having WBC of 45,000, if you see any hemogram, WBC is 10,000, but basophil is 2%, it is CML. You have to rule out CML. Because basophil should not be more than 1% in any healthy hemogram. So if you see with a high count basophil of more than 1%, you immediately think about CML and proceed for the investigations for the CML, chronic myeloid leukemia. You see all the cells like polymorph, band cell, metamyelocyte, myelocyte, shift to left up to the blast, but that blast number will not be high like we get in acute leukemia. The number of blasts are high, but here you will see 1 or 2, not very high, but along with that there are so many neutrophils and shift to left. With that, if basophil is there, you do the further test, and that is the BCR-ABL, and if BCR-ABL is positive, that confirms the diagnosis of chronic myeloid leukemia. And why you have to pick up chronic myeloid leukemia early? Because nowadays we have a good medication available, that is a tyrosine kinase inhibitor, imatinib, second line dasatinib, nilotinib. They are wonderful drugs. They have almost now 20 years down the line, I can say that if these patients are picked up early, and if we give all this medication early, patient can get a cure. Like before 2000, the CML was incurable. All the patients used to die without any treatment unless they are treated with the allogenic bone marrow transplantation. But after 2001, this imatinib is a wonder drug. It has brought a wonderful change in treatment. Till 2015, we were continuing imatinib. Even if counts are normal, we never used to stop that drug with the fear that if it comes back, we will have to send patient for transplant. But now there is enough data which shows that if BCR-ABL is negative for 5 years consecutive, you can stop imatinib and patient can enjoy disease-free survival for a long time. Then this is the third patient of neutrophilia. Here 65-year-old man presented with constitutional symptoms. Fatigue, restlessness, weight loss, night sweats, pruritus. All these symptoms tells me that something going on chronic. It's not acute, it's going on chronic. There is no fever, so that means there is no infection. It is a non-infectious something going on for a long time. And he has on examination hepatosplenomegaly. And when I saw the his hemogram, it showed that neutrophilia was there for quite a long time, almost for 1 year. And when you see the hemogram, the hemoglobin is 10, WBC again 45,000, but here 85% are polymorphs, but this is not infection. Because there is no fever, procal is normal, CRP is normal, examination didn't show any evidence of infection. This is going on for 1 year, that means it has to be a chronic myeloproliferative neoplasm. So there is a rare condition which is known as a chronic neutrophilic leukemia, and it can be diagnosed based on the bone marrow and this mutation. Like in CML we do the BCR-ABL, in chronic neutrophilic leukemia, CSF3R mutation is common in 99% of patients. You will get this mutation. If that is there, this diagnosis is chronic neutrophilic leukemia. Unfortunately, for chronic neutrophilic leukemia, there is no treatment right now available which will cure patient. The whatever treatment is available is just to get the control on disease and no cure. Then we will move ahead with the patients having lymphocytosis. Like this is a 70-year-old man, asymptomatic absolutely, but having comorbidities, posted for cataract surgery, hemodynamically stable. Examination didn't show any abnormality, but hemogram is showing 14 hemoglobin. See, hemoglobin is normal, platelet is normal. What is abnormal is only WBC, and that is 25,000, and out of that the differential is abnormal. Usually we get a 70% of neutrophil and 30% lymphocyte, but here what we are saying is 80% of lymphocyte and 15% of the neutrophil. That means something wrong is going on definitely. 80% lymphocyte is not the normal thing. So you have to see the peripheral smear, and in peripheral smear all these lymphocytes are mature looking, they are not blast. So it's not an acute leukemia, but it's definitely wrong, something wrong. 80% mature lymphocytes with smudge cell. That usually happens with chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And in chronic lymphocytic leukemia, when you have normal hemoglobin, normal platelet, no hepatosplenomegaly, no lymphadenopathy, then it's usually stage 0. And in stage 0, you don't have to treat patient with chemotherapy, but diagnosis is must. And for that, you have to send this patient to hematologist to undergo certain tests, and which is known as a CD marker. And this CD markers, once you get a CD marker CD5, 20, 23 and 200 positive, it confirms the diagnosis of CLL. Why it is important to confirm the diagnosis? Because once you know that diagnosis is CLL and it is stage 0, then you need not treat that. You can just give a green sheet for surgery. He can go ahead with any surgery. Not only cataract, but he can go ahead with the cardiac surgery or any major surgery. And for that matter, even if, irrespective of count, whether count is 25,000 or 1 lakh, if it is a stage 0, like no hepatosplenomegaly, no lymphadenopathy, his hemoglobin is normal, platelets are normal, even if WBCs are 1 lakh with 80% lymphocyte and diagnosis is CLL, it is stage 0, you need not treat that, you can give green sheet for the further any surgical procedure. This is second case of lymphocytosis. This is a young patient, 20-year-old, symptomatic, fever, cough, expectoration, loss of appetite, but not responding to antibiotics. That means it's not a usual bacterial infection which is causing high count. Hemodynamically stable, no, but he was having hepatosplenomegaly and there was a lymphadenopathy also which was generalized. So the suspicion was whether he is having acute lymphocytic leukemia, something leukemic process is going or not, and for that what we need to do is again peripheral smear examination. And in peripheral smear examination, the WBC was 22,000, hemoglobin normal, platelets are also normal. So when we see hemoglobin and platelet normal, there is a possibility that it is not a leukemia, but it still must be some kind of infection. And for that you have to look at the smear. The smear is showing 60% of lymphocyte, and all these lymphocytes are not blast, but they are activated lymphocyte. The activated lymphocyte look like this. They have a large cytoplasm, dark blue, compared to what we see in a normal lymphocyte, the small amount of cytoplasm and not very dark blue. So whenever you see activated lymphocyte, you are sure it's not a blast. Your pathologist will tell you it's not blast, but there are activated lymphocyte. Then you do the EBV panel. That is the most common cause of activated high lymphocyte with lymphadenopathy. And if this EBV panel confirms that there is an EBV infection, they require only conservative line of treatment and no treatment from hemato-oncologist. And if they don't respond or if that counts remain high with EBV panel positivity, you can take the help of ID person also to take care of EBV infection. Then now we'll move ahead with the monocytosis, when monocytes are high. Like this patient is 1-year-old male patient, presented with fever, short history of fever, diarrhea and skin rash. There are petechial hemorrhages and moderate splenomegaly. There were 3 fingers below the costal margin. Spleen was palpable. And if you look at this hemogram, that is abnormal. Only hemoglobin is okay, but WBC 37,000, and out of that 59% are monocytes, and platelets are also low, 50,000. And if you see peripheral smear shows no blast, but there are increased monocytes with low platelet. So whenever you see such patient, it's pediatric, I don't know whether there is anybody pediatric in crowd, but pediatric patient with monocytosis, splenomegaly, the usual diagnosis is juvenile myelomonocytic leukemia, and for that you don't require marrow, but you require certain specialized tests, and that is cytogenetics and NGS. And if patient has a monosomy 7 or these kinds of mutations, then the diagnosis of juvenile monocytic leukemia is confirmed. So this patient, our patient had a KRAS mutation with 7 monosomy. JMML is aggressive and fatal disorder if left untreated, and the predictors of short survival are age more than 2 years, platelets less than 33,000, and level of hemoglobin F is more than 10%. The similar kind of picture we can get in adult, like instead of 1 year age is 60 years, and the same peripheral smear if you see, the diagnosis is usually chronic myelomonocytic leukemia. Again, that is a chronic disorder, they don't require any chemotherapy, and for confirmation you need a bone marrow examination. Along with that, mutational studies which will show you certain common mutation positive like TET2, ASXL1, SRSF2, that confirms the diagnosis of CMML. Again, for CMML there is no curative treatment available, and they don't require treatment immediately unless the platelets are low, hemoglobin is low, and counts are rising very high, having recurrent infection, and the treatment is just symptomatic. When they evolve into acute leukemia, they require the treatment. Then next case is of eosinophilia. We see eosinophilia very commonly because it's an allergic condition. Patient may be allergic to anything, and that will be represented in the hemogram as a eosinophilia. You won't believe that one of the patients I evaluated for eosinophilia was having allergy to haldi. Like, it was very funny, but then it sometimes happens, you have to keep on asking patient the history. History part is very important. This patient was taking a very large amount of kachi haldi during that corona time just to prevent the infection, and that consumption of haldi led to eosinophilia. So he came for further investigation, and we are almost on the verge of point that we'll do marrow. Nothing is positive, no allergic, she is not allergic to anything, but then he revealed that he was eating haldi. I just said you stop, and we will again see the hemogram after 15 days, and that was bank normal. So you never know to which drug or which food material patient is allergic. You try to find out. So this eosinophilia is also very different from, it's not an allergic case, but this boy, 9-year-old female, presented with fever on and off for 1 month with joint pain. Now when patient present with fever and joint pain, it's usually not an allergic thing, and this patient was taking off and on steroid at local place, because whenever eosinophil was high, definitely we give steroid as anti-allergic. So she used to get relief, but ultimately because it was going on for quite long time, she was referred for further evaluation. And the evaluation at my clinic showed hemoglobin 9 gram, 29,000 WBC with 36% eosinophil, and the platelets were 9,000. This is something abnormal. We don't get a thrombocytopenia in eosinophilia which is associated with allergic condition. So we went ahead with the bone marrow biopsy. This was a PS, no blast, nothing, only eosinophilia, but still we went ahead with the marrow because we were not getting the answer, that the marrow was packed with the lymphoid blast. So sometimes you get a surprise, and that is why my advice for all the clinicians is do not use steroids empirically, because many times the lymphoid blasts, which are only 1 or 2 on peripheral smear and can be missed, they will get wiped out with the use of steroids. And ultimately these patients relapse with a much more higher count. So whenever WBC count is less than 30,000 and we pick up the cases of lymphoid malignancy, acute lymphocytic leukemia, they also have a cure rate of almost in the range of 85-90%. And when they come with a very high count, their cure rate goes down. So it's very important to pick them up at the low count. Then this patient, actually 18-year-old male, presented with the skin lesions. He was having extensive petechial hemorrhage, and he was having, in fact, petechial hemorrhage and wet purpura in the mouth also. He visited first the skin specialist, that there are so many lesions are there, and the skin specialist was very alert, and he said, "This is something going on wrong. It's not a skin disorder. You just get the first hemogram done." He got the hemogram done, and that hemogram showed hemoglobin of 5, means this must be going on for 8-10 days. Patient just ignored, and when the lesions were extensive, he went to skin specialist. It showed hemoglobin 5, WBC 22,000, and there were abnormal looking promyelocyte on the smear. So the diagnosis is clear. Whenever there are promyelocyte, abnormal promyelocyte on the smear, the diagnosis is acute promyelocytic leukemia. And why I have specially presented this case is acute promyelocytic leukemia is also one of the malignancy or acute myeloid leukemia which has a very good cure rate. When you pick up very early, like when you will say early, if WBC is less than 5,000 and with less than 5,000 you are picking up the case, that is considered as a early. Your platelet should be more than 20,000 and WBC less than 5,000. Like 4 months back I saw one patient who was pregnant having fever, WBC only 500, platelet 60,000 and hemoglobin 8. So marrow was done because there were looking abnormal promyelocytes, looking means query promyelocytes were there. It confirmed the diagnosis of APML. She was in 2nd trimester, so I could give her a treatment, because in APML when you pick up them early, the treatment is non-chemo. You give only ETRA and arsenic and the cure rate is almost touching 100%. We gave her an induction with the ETRA and arsenic. She delivered normal baby girl just last month and doing well. Without chemo, she could do well only because she was picked up very early. Now this is last because it's an interesting case. This was my, I think I saw this patient almost 10-15 years back during my initial practice days. He was a 70-year-old man, smoker with history of COPD, had fever, dry cough, dyspnea on exertion. There was mild hepatosplenomegaly on the examination and few bilateral clefts which you might get in a COPD. Investigation shows WBC 40,000 with platelet 9,000, less than 10,000. So actually he was referred to be for a ITP, whether this is ITP, less than 10,000 platelet count. But WBC 14,000 and peripheral smear showed multiple inclusion bodies in the neutrophil, and they were looking like such kind of inclusion bodies, which we never see normally in the neutrophil. So ultimately we did the further stains like GMS and PAS, and we confirmed that it is a histoplasmosis. That was a histoplasmosis and infection associated low platelet count and high TLC. So again the lesson is never, like for ITP we give steroid left and right, but never give steroid before looking at the smear. If something is there like infection or leukemia, then don't use steroid because that will wipe out the picture and it might worsen the things. The histoplasma was the diagnosis and responded well to amphotericin. So So to conclude, the take-home message is history examination are the important steps for making the provisional diagnosis. CBC and peripheral examination will give you a crucial input to make a final diagnosis. And if you are not able to make a analysis and come to some conclusion, have a dialogue with pathologist or hemato-oncologist. If TLC is not in normal range or something abnormal you notice in differential, or you think TLC and DC is normal but morphology is abnormal, then you need to have a dialogue with the hematologist or pathologist, and then further specialized tests can be done to confirm the diagnosis. Thank you very much for patient listening. And this is my email ID and phone number. If you have any, because we can't keep on discussing like case, you may be having 100 of different kind of patients, and I would love to see all those your inputs. If you have any difficulty in diagnosing, reaching to diagnosis, you can reach me on this email and we can have a dialogue on phone. Thank you very much.